The twin suns of Kepler 186f cast merciless rays across the crimson desert, where even the hardiest of creatures sought shelter from the midday heat. Thane Blackwood cursed his luck as he checked his water flask, barely enough for another day. After 15 years of running dangerous missions across the galaxy, he never expected to die in this forsaken wasteland. The mission had gone sideways 3 days ago. What should have been a simple escort job turned into an ambush that scattered their convoy across the desert. Now, separated from his team and running low on supplies, Thane had to reach the outpost of Haven's Edge before dehydration claimed another victim of the Crimson Desert. His weathered boots crunched against the rusty sand as he crested another dune. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, broken only by jutting formations of red rock that seemed to mock his isolation. The magnetic storms in the upper atmosphere made communication impossible, and the same phenomena played havoc with navigation systems. Out here, survival depended on experience, instinct, and luck, and Thane's luck was running dangerously thin. A glint of metal caught his eye, breaking the monotony of red sand and stone. Thane drew his pulse rifle, approaching cautiously. Years of experience had taught him that in the wastelands, everything that glittered was more likely to be a trap than treasure. As he drew closer, he saw it wasn't just scattered debris, it was the remains of a small transport pod, its hull scarred and twisted from a rough landing. Recent tracks in the sand suggested someone had survived the crash. "Hello?" Thane called out, his voice rough from dust and thirst. "Anyone alive in there?" A weak cough answered him, followed by movement from behind a twisted panel of metal. Thane kept his rifle ready as a figure emerged, and felt his heart skip a beat. The survivor was young, probably no more than 16, with silver-tinted skin that seemed to shimmer in the harsh sunlight. Her eyes were large and entirely black, marking her as one of the Stellaris, a species known for their natural affinity with stellar navigation. She was also clearly dying. Burns marked her flight suit, and her silver skin had taken on a dull, ashen quality that Thane recognized as severe dehydration. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Help." Thane's hand moved to his water flask. One look told him she wouldn't survive another hour without water. But giving her his last supplies meant certain death for himself. He'd seen too many good people die in these wastelands from misplaced kindness. The girl's eyes met his, and something in them struck him deeply. There was fear there, yes, but also a fierce determination to live that reminded him painfully of someone from his past. Someone he'd lost. With a muttered curse, Thane unclipped his water flask. "Small sips," he instructed, kneeling beside her. "Too much at once will make you sick." As she drank, Thane examined the pod's wreckage. The marking had been deliberately obscured, but he recognized the subtle design elements of Nova Corp mining vessels. This girl was a runaway, and if Nova Corp was involved, she was running from something worse than death. "What's your name?" he asked as she finished the last drops of his water. "Naira," she replied, her voice stronger now. I was trying to reach Haven's Edge." Thane nodded. Haven's Edge was the only free port within 1,000 kilometers, a haven for those seeking to disappear from corporate control. "That makes 2 of us. Think you can walk?" Naira pushed herself to her feet, swaying slightly but managing to stay upright. "Yes. I have to." As they began their journey across the desert, Thane couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something important. There was something hauntingly familiar about Naira's features, about the way she set her jaw with determination despite her obvious fear. The suns continued their relentless march across the sky as they walked, and Thane found himself sharing stories of his past missions to distract them both from their thirst. He told her about the time he'd outmaneuvered a corporate blockade in the Orion Belt, and how he'd once negotiated peace between warring colonies on Europa. What he didn't tell her about was Liana, the Stellaris navigator he'd loved and lost 12 years ago. He didn't mention how Naira's determination reminded him of Lyanna's own fierce spirit, or how he'd left the corporate worlds behind after Lyanna had disappeared, presumably taken by Nova Corp for her rare navigational abilities. As the first sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of deep purple, Thane spotted a familiar rock formation in the distance. There, he pointed. The Serpent's Teeth. Haven's Edge lies just beyond those peaks. We can make it by morning if we walk through the night. Naira nodded, but Thane could see exhaustion etched in every line of her body. Without water, the journey would push them both to their limits. Yet as he watched her press forward, step after determined step, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. Whatever secrets this young Stellaris carried, whatever dangers pursued her, Thane knew he'd made the right choice in helping her. Sometimes, he reflected, salvation came not from saving yourself, but from reaching out to save another, even at the cost of your last drop of water. The desert night closed in around them as they pressed on toward Haven's Edge, unaware that their journey was about to uncover truths that would shake both their worlds to the core. The Serpent's Teeth loomed before them, jagged spires of red rock that caught the light of the rising second sun. Thane and Naira had walked through the night, their footprints trailing behind them in the crystalline sand like a testament to their determination. Both were exhausted, dehydrated, but alive. "We need to rest," Thane announced, guiding them toward a shallow cave in the rock face. "The heat will be unbearable soon." He didn't mention that his vision had started to blur, his thoughts growing scattered from dehydration. Naira slumped against the cave wall, her silver skin dulled by dust and fatigue. "Why did you help me?" she asked suddenly. "You gave me your last water. Most people out here wouldn't have done that." Thane was quiet for a long moment, watching the play of light across the desert. "Sometimes the right choice and the smart choice aren't the same thing," he finally said. "Besides, you remind me of someone I used to know." "The woman in your dreams?" Naira asked. When Thane shot her a sharp look, she explained, "You called out a name while you were dozing earlier." "Lyanna." The name hit Thane like a physical blow. He hadn't spoken it aloud in years, had tried to bury it under countless missions and bottles of synthetic whiskey. "She was a navigator," he found himself saying. "One of the best. The Stellaris have a natural gift for it, they can sense stellar winds, read radiation patterns like most people read words." "Like my mother," Naira said softly. "She taught me how to navigate by feeling the stars' songs before." She trailed off, pain flickering across her features. "Before Nova Corp took her?" Thane finished. At Naira's surprised look, he gestured to her flight suit. "I recognize the design modifications. They use those pods to transport valuable assets between mining operations." Naira's shoulders slumped. "They call it specialized labor contracts, but it's slavery. They take anyone with navigation talent and force them to pilot their mining ships through asteroid fields and radiation storms. My mother, she's been there for 12 years now. I was too young to remember when they took her, but I never stopped trying to find her." 12 years. The timeframe sent a chill down Thane's spine despite the desert heat. "These mining operations," he said carefully, "where are they?" "The main facility is on Ceres Station, orbiting Jupiter. That's where they took my mother. I finally managed to track her down, but when I tried to reach her..." Naira's hand unconsciously touched a burn mark on her flight suit. "They caught me. I stole the transport pod to escape, but they damaged it during pursuit. I barely made it this far." Thane's mind raced. Ceres Station. 12 years ago. It couldn't be coincidence. "Your mother," he said, his throat dry with more than just thirst, "what's her name?" Before Naira could answer, a sound cut through the morning air, the distinctive whine of approaching hover engines. Thane was on his feet instantly, pulse rifle ready. "Nova Corp Security Patrol," he growled. "They must have followed your pod's trajectory." They can't take me back, Naira said, panic edging her voice. I won't let them. They won't, Thane cut her off, his voice hard with promise. There's a narrow canyon behind these rocks that leads to Haven's Edge. It's too tight for their hover vehicles, but they'll have ground teams too. We'll need to move fast and quiet. As they slipped out of the cave and into the canyon, Thane's mind whirled with possibilities. The timing, the location, even Naira's determination, it all pointed to one impossible conclusion. But he couldn't afford to dwell on it now. First, they had to survive. The canyon walls rose around them, offering shade but also limiting their escape routes. Thane led them through the twisting passages, calling on years of experience running similar gauntlets. Behind them, shouts and the sound of boots on stone indicated their pursuers had picked up their trail. There's something you should know, Naira said as they paused behind a boulder, catching their breath. About why they want me so badly. I'm not just any navigator. I can do things, see patterns that others can't. My mother could too. It's why they took her. A pulse blast struck the rock above them, sending fragments raining down. Save it for later, Thane ordered, returning fire around the boulder. His shot caught one of the pursuers in the chest, sending them sprawling. Run! They sprinted through the canyon, pulse blasts lighting up the shadows around them. Thane's body screamed for water, for rest, but he pushed through it. He wouldn't let them take her. Not like they'd taken Lyanna. The canyon opened suddenly onto a wider valley, and there, rising from the red sand like a mirage, was Haven's Edge. The settlement was a sprawling collection of prefab buildings and converted ship parts, surrounded by a makeshift wall. Safety was less than a kilometer away. But between them and the settlement stood a line of Nova Corp security forces, their black armor gleaming in the sunlight. At their center stood a figure Thane recognized, Commander Darius Vale, Nova Corp's most ruthless asset recovery specialist. Quite a chase you've led us on, little star, Vale called out, his amplified voice echoing off the canyon walls. But it ends here. That girl is Nova Corp property, and you're interfering with corporate interests. Thane's finger tightened on his rifle's trigger. She's not property, he snarled. And neither was her mother. Vale's helmet tilted slightly. Ah, so you've figured it out, have you? I wondered if you might. Does she know? Have you told her who abandoned her mother to our custody 12 years ago? Naira's head snapped toward Thane, confusion and dawning horror in her black eyes. What is he talking about? But before Thane could respond, all hell broke loose. The air filled with pulse fire as Haven's Edge's defense forces suddenly joined the fray, apparently deciding that a corporate incursion this close to their walls couldn't go unchallenged. In the chaos that followed, Thane made a choice that would change everything, not just for him and Naira, but for everyone trapped in Nova Corp's web of exploitation. The truth would have to wait. First, they had to survive. And then, somehow, they had to find a way to reach Siri Station. Because if Naira's mother really was Lyanna, Thane had 12 years of absence to make up for. And this time, he wouldn't walk away. Haven's Edge lived up to its reputation as a sanctuary for the desperate. The settlement's defense forces had driven back the Nova Corp security teams, though Thane knew it was only a temporary reprieve. Commander Vale wasn't the type to give up easily, especially not with such valuable assets at stake. Now, in a dimly lit room at the Starfall Inn, Thane watched Naira pace back and forth, her silver skin catching the light from the ancient plasma lamps. They'd both been treated for dehydration, but physical recovery wasn't what concerned him now. You knew my mother, Naira said finally, stopping to face him. It wasn't a question. You knew her, and you never said anything. Thane met her gaze steadily. I didn't know for sure until you mentioned Siri Station. The timing, it fit too perfectly to be coincidence. Tell me everything, Naira demanded, her black eyes intense. I need to know the truth. Thane took a deep breath. I met your mother during a corporate exploration mission to the Kuiper Belt. Lyanna was the lead navigator, I was head of security. She was. He paused, searching for words. She was unlike anyone I'd ever met. The way she could read the stars, predict solar storms, plot courses through impossible debris fields, it was like watching someone dance with the universe itself. You fell in love with her, Naira said softly. We both did. But loving someone in corporate space means putting them at risk. Nova Corp had already started their program of recruiting Stellaris navigators. We tried to keep our relationship secret, but... Thane's hands clenched. Someone talked. When we found out Lyanna was pregnant, we knew we had to run. Understanding dawned in Naira's eyes. But something went wrong. Everything went wrong. We had it all planned, false identities, a modified shuttle, a clear route to free space. But Nova Corp was waiting for us at the extraction point. I fought them off while Lyanna escaped with you, but... Thane's voice grew rough. I was captured, imprisoned. By the time I broke out months later, I couldn't find any trace of either of you. I searched for years, but Nova Corp had hidden you too well. They caught up with her, Naira said, her voice tight with old pain. She managed to hide me with a sympathetic family on one of the outer colonies, but they found her. All these years, I thought. She trailed off, turning away. You thought she'd abandoned you, Thane finished quietly. Just like you thought I had. And now you're here, Naira laughed bitterly. Saving my life with your last water, not even knowing who I was. The universe has a cruel sense of humor. Before Thane could respond, an explosion rocked the building. They rushed to the window to see smoke rising from Haven's Edge's outer wall. Alarms began to blare throughout the settlement. Vale, Thane growled. He's not waiting for reinforcements. They won't stop, Naira said, her voice hardening with resolve. Not until they have both of us. And now they know we're together. Which means we have only one choice, Thane finished. We have to take the fight to them. We have to free your mother. A knock at the door made them both spin, weapons ready. Easy there, a gravelly voice called out. I'm here to help. The door opened to reveal a weather-beaten woman with cybernetic augmentations along her temples. Name's Raven, she said. I run blockade missions against Nova Corporation. Word is you two are looking to cause them some serious trouble. You could say that, Thane replied cautiously. Raven grinned, the expression fierce. Good. Because I've got a ship, a crew that hates Nova Corp as much as you do, and detailed schematics of Ceres Station's defense systems. Question is, are you ready to start a war? Another explosion rattled the windows. In the distance, they could hear the sound of pulse rifles and the screams of civilians. Vale's forces were getting closer. We've been at war for 12 years, Naira said, her black eyes reflecting the fires burning outside. They just didn't know it yet. Thane looked at his daughter, the words still felt strange in his mind, and saw Lyanna's determination in her stance. We'll need a plan, he said. Ceres Station is one of the most heavily defended facilities in the solar system. Already got one, Raven replied. But you're not going to like it. We'll need to make a deal with the Syndicate. The criminal organization? Naira asked, surprised. The same ones who've been helping Stellaris navigators escape Nova Corp for years, Raven corrected. They've got people inside Ceres Station, but they've never had the firepower to mount a full rescue operation. With your inside knowledge and my ship's capabilities. Another explosion, closer this time. The sound of boots on metal stairs reached them from the hallway. We don't have time to debate this, Thane said. How soon can your ship be ready? My crew's prepping her now, Raven answered. But we need to move fast. Vale's forces have the main spaceport blocked, but I know a back way through the maintenance tunnels. Thane met Naira's eyes, seeing his own determination reflected there. Everything that had happened, his choice to help a stranger in the desert, the revelations that followed, even Vale's attack on Haven's Edge, had led to this moment. A chance to make right what had gone wrong 12 years ago. "Mom's still alive," Naira said quietly. "I can feel it. The stars sing differently when a Stellaris dies, and her song is still strong." "Then let's go get her," Thane replied, checking his pulse rifle. Together. As they followed Raven through Haven's Edge's shadowy back alleys, dodging Nova Corp patrols and making their way toward her hidden ship, Thane realized that his last act of kindness in the desert hadn't just saved his daughter's life, it had given them both a chance at something they'd lost long ago: family. Now they just had to survive long enough to make it whole again. Ceres Station hung against the backdrop of Jupiter like a steel spider in its web. Through the viewport of Raven's ship, the Midnight Runner, Thane studied the massive mining facility's defensive arrays and patrol patterns. After 2 weeks of preparation, countless favors called in, and more than a few risky deals with the Syndicate, they were finally ready to move. "Last chance to back out," Raven said from the pilot's seat, her cybernetics glowing softly in the dim bridge lighting. "Once we start this dance, there's no stopping until the music ends." "We're ready," Naira replied. The past weeks had changed her, hardened her. She wore a modified flight suit now, borrowed from Raven's crew, and carried herself with the confidence of someone who had found their purpose. Thane checked his gear one final time. The Syndicate's intelligence had been worth every credit: guard rotations, security codes, even the location of Liona's cell block. But intel could change, and Nova Corp wasn't known for being predictable. "Remember," he said, "if anything goes wrong, you get out. Both of you." He looked meaningfully at Naira and Raven. "I didn't come this far to lose anyone else to Nova Corporation." "Not happening," Naira said firmly. "We do this together, or not at all." The plan was elegant in its simplicity, though that didn't make it any less dangerous. The Syndicate's inside man had arranged for a malfunction in one of the station's primary or processing units. When Nova Corp diverted security to deal with the emergency, Raven would dock at a maintenance airlock under the cover of a faked work order. From there, they would have exactly 18 minutes to reach the secure navigation wing, free Liona and any other Stellaris they could, and get back to the ship. Approaching dark side, Raven announced. Initiating silent running protocols. The Midnight Runner's engines died to a whisper as they slipped into Ceres Station's sensor shadow. Thane felt the familiar tension building in his chest, not fear, exactly, but the acute awareness that every breath could be his last. "Signal from our contact," Raven said suddenly. "Malfunction initiated. Security teams are moving. We're go for insertion." The next few minutes were a blur of precise movements and held breath. Raven guided her ship through the maze of sensor arrays with incredible skill, finally bringing them alongside the maintenance airlock. The docking clamps engaged with a muted thunk. 15 minutes until security rotation, Raven reminded them as they moved through the airlock. "Good hunting." The station corridors were eerily quiet, their footsteps echoing despite their best efforts at stealth. Thane led the way, pulse rifle ready, while Naira consulted a stolen station schematic on her wrist display. They encountered only 2 patrols, easily avoided thanks to the Syndicate's intelligence. When they reached the navigation wing, however, they found something the intel hadn't prepared them for. The security door was already open. "Trap?" Naira whispered. Thane shook his head. "Worse. Someone beat us here." They moved cautiously into the wing, finding unconscious guards and disabled security systems. In the main control room, they discovered the source of the chaos, Commander Vale himself, standing over a console with a data extractor. "Right on time," Vale said without turning. I must admit, you've led me on quite a chase. But I knew you'd come eventually. Love makes people so predictable. Step away from the console, Thane ordered, his rifle trained on Vale's head. Or what? Vale turned slowly, showing no fear. You'll kill me? Then you'll never find her. You see, I've spent the last 12 years studying the Stellaris, learning their secrets. Did you know their navigational abilities are genetic? Passed from parent to child, growing stronger with each generation. Naira stiffened beside Thane. Where is my mother? Safe. Secure. And soon to be joined by her daughter. Vale's smile was cold. You didn't think I attacked Haven's Edge just to capture you, did you? No, I needed you to come here. Both of you. The parent and child, together at last. Do you have any idea what we could learn from studying you both? Last chance, Thane growled. Where is she? Behind you, a new voice said. Thane spun to find a squad of Nova Corp security forces filing into the room, led by a figure that made his heart stop. Lyanna stood among them, her silver skin dulled by years of captivity but her black eyes still burning with the same intensity he remembered. But there was something wrong about her stance, her expression. I'm sorry, Thane, she said, her voice distant. They have ways of ensuring compliance. Neural implants. Behavior modification. I tried to fight it for so long. Mom? Naira's voice cracked. The daughter I never got to know, Lyanna said softly. You look so much like I did at your age. She turned to Vale. You promised. If I helped you catch them, you'd remove the implants. And I'm a man of my word, Vale replied smoothly. Once we've completed our research, you'll all be free to go. One big happy family, serving Nova Corp's interests willingly. Thane's mind raced. The plan had gone sideways, but maybe. He caught Naira's eye, saw her slight nod. They had prepared for complications, after all. Now then, Vale continued, shall we begin the processing? Or do we need to do this the hard way? Thane lowered his rifle slowly. Just one question first, he said. Did you really think we came alone? The lights went out. In the sudden darkness, chaos erupted. The Midnight Runner's electromagnetic pulse had done its job, plunging the station into emergency lighting and disrupting Nova Corp's neural control systems. Thane heard Lyanna's sharp gasp as the implants hold on her mind wavered. Execute them. Vale's voice cut through the confusion. Now. But his security forces were already engaged with a new threat. The Syndicate's agents, disguised as maintenance workers throughout the station, had chosen this moment to strike. The sound of pulse fire filled the corridor outside. Thane moved instantly, tackling Vale before he could draw his weapon. They crashed into the console, sending the data extractor skittering across the floor. In the dim red emergency lighting, Thane saw Naira rushing to her mother's side as Lyanna collapsed, her body fighting the failing neural implants. Mom! Naira cradled Lyanna's head. Stay with me. The implants, Lyanna gasped, her black eyes clearing for the first time in years. They're burning out. I can feel. I can think again. Vale laughed despite Thane's grip on his throat. You think this changes anything? Every security team on this station will be here in minutes. You'll never make it to your ship. They might not, Raven's voice crackled over their comm units, but I'm betting those other Stellaris navigators you've got locked up will even the odds. Understanding dawned in Vale's eyes. The maintenance crews. They're not just fighting, they're freeing the prisoners. Like I said, Thane growled, did you really think we came alone? A massive explosion rocked the station. Through the observation windows, they could see ships rising from the lower hangar bays, dozens of them, each piloted by a freed Stellaris navigator. Nova Corp's defense grid tried to target them, but the Stellaris' natural abilities made them nearly impossible to track. "Naira," Liana said suddenly, her voice stronger. "Help me up. There's something we need to do." Mother and daughter made their way to the navigation console, their silver skin seeming to glow in the emergency lighting. As they placed their hands on the interface, Thane saw what he'd fallen in love with all those years ago, that incredible connection to the stars themselves. "The station's defensive systems," Liana explained, her fingers dancing across the controls. "They're tied into the main navigation array. If two Stellaris work together, we can overload it," Naira finished, matching her mother's movements perfectly. "Force everything into shutdown." Vale struggled in Thane's grip. "Stop them. You don't understand what they're capable of." "That's where you're wrong," Thane replied. "I always knew exactly what they were capable of. I just never thought I'd see them do it together." The station shuddered as system after system went dark. Defense turrets powered down, security doors opened, and containment fields failed. Throughout Ceres Station, Nova Corp's carefully maintained control was crumbling. "Hate to break up the family reunion," Raven's voice crackled over the comm, "but we've got about 5 minutes before Nova Corp's backup generators kick in. Might want to start heading back." Thane slammed Vale's head against the console, leaving him unconscious. "Time to go." But as they turned to leave, Liana stumbled. The neural implants might have been disrupted, but years of their influence had taken their toll. Without a word, Thane scooped her into his arms, just as he had carried Naira through the desert weeks ago. "I've got you," he whispered. "Both of you." Their journey back to the Midnight Runner was a blur of running feet and pulse fire. The Syndicate's agents covered their retreat, buying them precious seconds. Throughout the station, freed Stellaris navigators were making their own escapes, their stolen ships dancing through Jupiter's radiation belts with impossible grace. They reached the airlock just as the backup generators began to hum to life. As Raven's ship detached from the station, Thane held Liana close while Naira worked with the ship's navigator to plot their escape course. 12 years, Liana said softly, touching his face. "I never stopped hoping you'd find us." "I never stopped looking," Thane replied. "Even when I didn't know I was looking." "Nova Corp ships launching," Raven announced from the pilot's seat. "We've got company." "No," Naira said, her voice firm. "We don't." She stood at the navigation console, her silver skin reflecting the light of Jupiter. Around them, the other escaped ships fell into formation. As Nova Corp's vessels approached, the Stellaris navigators demonstrated why their abilities were so valued, and so feared. Working in concert, they created a maze of gravitational eddies and solar winds, turning Jupiter's radiation belts into an impassable barrier. The Nova Corp ships were forced to watch helplessly as their precious assets vanished into the depths of space. Hours later, safely hidden in an asteroid field, Thane found Naira and Liana in the ship's observation lounge. They stood together, their hands pressed against the viewport, watching the stars. "Can you hear them?" Naira asked her mother. "The stars' songs?" "Clearer than ever," Liana replied. "And now we can teach others to hear them too. No more hiding. No more cages." Thane stayed back, watching them. In saving Naira with his last water in that desert, he'd found more than redemption, he'd found his way home. The stars sang their ancient songs, and for the first time in 12 years, his heart sang with them. "Where will we go?" Naira asked, turning to include him in their circle. Thane joined them at the viewport, placing one hand on Naira's shoulder and the other around Liana's waist. Through the glass, Jupiter's storms raged in eternal chaos while countless stars beckoned with infinite possibility. "Wherever the stars lead us," he answered. Together. Behind them, Raven's ship carried them deeper into space, leaving Nova Corp and its chains far behind. They had lost 12 years, but they had found something precious in return, a family forged in the fires of sacrifice, strengthened by determination, and bound together by love stronger than any corporate control. And somewhere, in a crimson desert on a distant world, their story was already becoming legend, the tale of a father who saved his daughter with his last drop of water, never knowing that in doing so, he would save himself as well.